folks, it's me, Edith Rose, the art dog, letting you know that my mom is here with another exciting video for you about, let's see, I think it's about snack pastels. Or, maybe it's about chicken pastels? I don't know. It has something to do with pastels, and they sound kind of delicious, and I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna go eat dinner. I hope you enjoy the video.
So before we get started, I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about the materials that I'll be using today. So first of all is the pastels themselves. Now, a lot of you have used oil pastels before. Many of you have used dry pastels too. So dry pastels can be divided into two sort of main categories. There's these ones, which are soft, or I call them chalk pastels. And this is a really good brand, Rembrandt, and I've had these a really long time. So these are sort of like almost like chalk that you would write on a blackboard with, except a lot more expensive than that, and they're really soft and they can get really powdery and quite messy, but they're fun to work with. And then the next is the hard pastels. So I'm using these Prismacolor new pastels, and you can actually sharpen these and get like a point on them and get quite fine details, and because they are a bit harder, they don't spread as much. They are really good for the fine detail work. When you're working with pastels, you always want to work with a paper that has some tooth to it. And what tooth means is that when you rub your finger on it, you can feel a slightly rough texture. And that means that you can, like, as you put one layer of pastel on, it will sink into the tooth, and there's room for more layers to go on. If you use a really smooth paper, the pastel will kind of just fall off of there. So this is a fairly decent brand, not too expensive. It's Strathmore Pastel, which I sometimes use. But today I'm actually going to use a cold pressed watercolor paper, this Fabriano 140 pound cold pressed watercolor paper, and it has a thicker tooth than the other paper that I showed you. But yeah, have fun, experiment with different types of papers and surfaces and supports that you can put your work onto. Some other materials that I'm going to be using, or might be using, is a blending stump, these color shapers, which are kind of like paintbrushes with a rubbery silicone tip on the end, a paintbrush, and some alcohol. Now, before you go and try and convince your parents that Miss Hendry says you need to buy some vodka for your art assignment, this is just rubbing alcohol that is from the drugstore. I'm going to put some in addition. I'm going to paint with it. All right. When people talk about creating works with pastels, both oil and hard or soft dry pastels, they sometimes refer to them as a drawing medium and sometimes refer to them as a painting medium. I tend to always refer to them as a drawing medium. However, because they can be applied in a painterly manner, there's no hard and fast rules with art, but because they can be applied in a painterly manner, and you can actually wet them down and use things like paintbrushes to apply them, some people do think of it as a painting medium. What do you think it is? Does it matter? I just thought I'd throw that out there. But I mentioned it because I'm going to be starting with an actually quite a painterly approach, which is doing a wash. And that's what I'm going to be using the alcohol for. So I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol in a little dish, and I'm going to start by applying, so I'm doing this picture of this kitty cat, pictures on my iPad, and I'm going to start the process with maybe this. I'm doing sort of an underpainting, and I just want to go in big swatches of color, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in my area and information with one layer of colors, and then I'm going to use the paintbrush and the alcohol to give it a wash. I'll show you that next stage when I'm ready for it. I've added a very light layer of one color on each area of the paper. I've left some areas white. So I'm going to go in with my alcohol now and just sort of paint over that, and then I'll let it dry. I'm just using a 1-inch flat brush for this, and sort of following the direction of the cat's fur. Again, you know what, I'm going to try painting with my left hand so that I can hold the phone with my right hand. And this is just providing a little sort of underpainting, getting a few of my values in there before I go in with any detail work. I'm going to switch hands again. I'm actually going to tip my board up so that I can let gravity do its thing. And if some of the colors bleed into other areas of the paper, that's okay, because we're going to be covering that up with other layers. Alright, I'm going to let that dry. My color wash has dried, so I'm going to go in now with my gray pastel and dark brown pastel and just add some of my values. So remember, a value in a composition or an artwork refers to how light or dark it is. And once you establish your values, it really doesn't matter what color you make the rest of it. I mean, I could turn this cat into a purple cat, which my kindergarten teacher told me was impossible. But I could do that if I wanted, and if my values were there, it would still look right. It would read correctly. So I'm going in now to sort of add some of those values. And because it is actually kind of hard to hold the camera and do this at the same time, I'm going to pause it until I get to the next stage. What I've started to do in this area is go in with some more and more layers. So the way that I'm doing it now is actually applying my pastel in hair-like strokes, because I'm doing hair or fur, and adding a number of different colors all at once. Again, kind of following the direction of the fur itself and not worrying too much about being super accurate about it, because it's fur. It's not an exact sort of science, it's fur. And then rather than using my finger to sort of smush it or smudge it all around to blend it, I'm using my finger to kind of press the color into the tooth of the paper so that it stays there. Every now and then I might want to wipe my fingers with a paper towel. So just pressing that pigment into the page so it'll stay. I've gone in and put a number of layers on my cat's face, and I'm just going to show you how I sort of go in and create some of that texture. So ideally, I would want to start from this side and move to this side. So since I've already worked here, I'm going to be careful to not rest my arm on top of there because I don't want to smudge. I did this first because I wanted to show you something that maybe actually looked like something other than just the side of the cat. Found my picture. Okay, so again, I'm working with the new pastels now, which are the harder pastels, and so they're not as powdery and they don't travel as far on my page. And I'm just going in and again working in the same direction as the fur or the hair goes. I'm adding layer upon layer upon layer. And I'm not bothering to smudge it or smear it. And I've got this deep violet here to create some darks that will show me the illusion of dark without just going in with black. So I'll keep going at this and I'll probably come back when I'm close to being done. I finished my quick study of this little cat and I've sprayed it with a fixative. I haven't used a traditional fixative that I've used in the past. I've used this stuff, which is Spectra Fix, and it comes with this mixing bottle and it comes with the bottle of the formula itself, and you mix it with alcohol and you can spritz it on, and it you don't need to be in a well ventilated space to use it, and it doesn't tend to change the color of what you've done. Some fixatives I find do turn work chalky, and some of them even turn it darker. What some artists do is they actually spray fixative throughout the process, and then just put a final coat on, and then they don't touch that final layer. I keep meaning to try that, but I also keep forgetting that I keep meaning to do that, so I just start going in and then I think, oh, I should spray it with fixative because I'm done. And that's what happened here. So what I need to do now is remove the tape, and I want to show you a couple things about removing tape when you take tape off work. One is you want to make sure that you're peeling the tape sort of flat back on itself like that. Also, another thing I want to show you is that even if you have put the tape on your trouser legs a couple times and got some lint on there, it can still get stuck to this paper. So if you use a hairdryer on a low setting and sort of whoosh the hairdryer along as you take the tape off, the tape comes off really easily. You don't want it too hot because then the glue and the tape will melt and stick on the paper. So I'm going to take my tape off and then I'll show you the final piece. Here's the final piece, and It didn't take me too long to work on, maybe an hour. I didn't really time myself. I think it's not perfect, but it is fairly effective, and I'm going to be posting this on my quarantine art prompt site on Instagram, hashtag YYC Doodlebugs. The prompt today was purr. I hope you enjoyed that little demo video. Let me know in the D2L or send me an email if there's anything that you want me to demonstrate how to do. I know I have a metal leafing demo that I'm going to be doing sometime soon. If there's anything else you want me to try and show you or try and find on YouTube to show you, then please let me know. I should probably talk a little bit about why I would choose to use pastels, so I'm going to turn the camera around again. So dry pastels like I used today, both chalk or soft and hard pastels, have been used for a long time. They were particularly popular with Impressionist painters such as Mary Cassatt and Edgar Degas. One of the joys of working with dry pastels is that they fill a large space quickly. This is an 11-inch by 14-inch piece of watercolor paper, and I spent maybe an hour on this drawing. They're highly pigmented, so you can get a lot of color on there and a lot of value and a lot of information. They're very gentle to use, so if you're a person who maybe has carpal tunnel syndrome or arthritis, this might be something that is easier, or a medium that is easier to use than, say, an oil paint. And why else would you use them? Well, they're fun. Everything is fun. And I find it because, well, they're called soft pastels because they're soft to use, but they do have kind of a soft appearance to them. So if I'm doing something kind of fuzzy and furry and fluffy like this little cat, then I want something that looks nice and soft. I really wish my dog would let me get a cat because they're so cute. But I guess I'll just have to enjoy drawing cats in the meantime. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.